All right, Sharika here again. I am back I've just did a video on building corporate relationships and it was getting a little bit lengthy. And so I decided to stop after the first bullet and can hopefully provide the next two bullets under building effective. I want to make sure I say effective corporate relationships. So providing hopefully those next two bullets here, but we'll see how the spirit moves. Sometimes I start thinking of other things and start, ad-libbing a little bit, and my video may go a little bit too long. But anyway, without further ado, because I am that person who does not like when I go to a YouTube video and the person takes 15 minutes to tell me what they're going to talk about for a 20-minute video. So anyway, the first bullet, or the first underlying topic in the previous video, was acknowledging what you do or don't know and talking about, perfecting your craft and making sure you're willing to grow and listen and learn and all the things. So the second bullet is invest in social talk / listen. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean hanging out at people's desk or in their office, yapping it up about the weekend and what your children are doing and what your husband said and this funny joke and all the things. All of that is definitely part of building great corporate relationships, but people have work to do, and so do you. And so I'm speaking more to a more condensed version of that, which is really just starting off by saying good morning, how are you doing when you come into the office? Because sometimes it's easy to come in if everybody is already at their desk working, or you're the first person to come in, so you're already sitting head down when everyone else starts to come in. And especially even in this remote space, we may not talk to anyone, but it's helpful to take that time when you're face to face. Good morning, how was your weekend, how are you doing? Just those simple generic questions, and then actively listen. Don't say it and then knowing they're just going to go on and on and on, and I'm just saying it to be nice, because people pick up on that. So actively listen. It's not that you're it's about building relationships, honestly. Building relationships, making sure you're someone that other people want to work with, because what happens is you will have people who don't even like you. I had this to happen to me, or I thought she didn't like me. I'm not really sure still to this day, honestly. But there's someone that I work with who I always felt like she was just always trying to find something wrong with whatever I did. Like if someone else did something, she would take it, move on with it. If I did it, it would be heavily scrutinized and, come back and ask me 15 different questions just to make sure like I knew what I was talking about, and, all these other things. And I couldn't understand why she was the way that she was. But I remember some years later, I had left the company, and some years later I had applied for a role I think it was through a temp agency, and the agency called me, and when I went to go meet with them, they're like, I already know about you. I already know that we like you. I already know that you'd be a great fit for this company, but I just wanted to meet you face to face. Person, I won't say her name, gave you a glowing recommendation. And I was like, huh? So shocked and appalled, because I'm like, I didn't even think that lady liked me. I didn't say that to them. I don't think I did. But I didn't even think she liked me, but she happened to work for, I think she was working for the company that I was thinking about going to, which I ended up not taking the role, not because of her, but I don't remember why. It was years ago. But anyway, I ended up not taking the role. But it was just nice to know that, she gave me a glowing recommendation. And I reached out to her and said, thank you. And she was like, no problem. We need great people here. And so, it was, I don't know. It just surprises me now, even still. But what is the saying? Favor ain't fair. And sometimes, God, I have people who may not even like you, because she may not still have liked me. I don't know. But people who may not like you, doing things for you, speaking on your behalf, and they may not even realize why. And when it was all said and done, do I think she didn't like me? Actually, no, but I don't know what her issue was. But anyway, that just goes to show how building relationships, and it's because I continue to show up each day as myself. I continued to be cordial with her, regardless of what I thought her personal feelings were towards me. I did not change the way that I treated her. I still treated her with respect. I was still professional. I still, would speak when I saw her, all of those things. And because I could have easily just been rude, not said anything to her, ignored her whole existence. And I think I would have felt validated in that at that moment. I know better now, but I think at that moment, I probably would have felt validated in that because of how I felt that, like she treated me. So again, take an active step towards getting to know people, your teammates, all of those, the people that you work with. You don't realize how some people, it means so much to them just to feel seen, because they may not feel seen by others. Oh, everybody's always at your desk. Yeah, asking for something about work. Nobody ever cares to ask about me. And so showing that, making that investment into someone else really helps. And then that's, of course, face to face. But on Zoom, take the first few minutes of a phone call, a meeting. Just ask how the person is doing. Everything okay? How's your day going? Especially if it's someone on your team. Do you need anything from me? Reach out to them randomly. Don't just wait till, meeting time. Hey, just checking on you. Want to make sure everything's okay. Or I remember you said you were going to a concert this weekend. I hope you had a great time. It doesn't always have to be initiating this wonderful, this extensive conversation. But hey, I remember you said you were going to a concert. I hope you had a great time. And leave it at that. That way you're acknowledging that I remember, I see you, I remember you, I remember the things, and pay attention when you speak to me, but I also have to get to work, so I don't really have time to talk right now, so, but that's really important. So invest in the social talk, make sure you're listening, and then I always like to provide a scriptural reference or support for my topics. And so the one for this one is Genesis.18, which says, "Then the Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him." And now granted, in this particular instance, it's when God was talking about being fruitful and multiplying. Or actually even before that, when he was talking about Adam, and which is when he subsequently created Eve for Adam because he saw that he was lonely. But in this reference, I think that just works for people, period. I remember one place I worked where they were talking about everybody wanted to work from home. We had gotten a taste of it during COVID, and we wanted to work from home 100% of the time. And I remember there were a couple of people who were against it because they lived alone and their only interaction with others was when they came to work. They didn't really have any family here or anything like that. And so in town or anything like that. And so that's when they would get their other human interaction, which is coming to work. But people like me who live in a household, it's 5 of us, and a dog, plus a dog, don't think about things like that. We sit and like, oh my gosh, I wish I had a quiet moment, when there's someone on the opposite side of that all they have are quiet moments. And so when someone gives them that vested interest, or just ask them those simple questions, or even in a meeting, give them a few minutes to just, speak about themselves, it makes a world of difference. So again, invest in social talk, but do it genuinely so that you're actually listening. And then the second point for this video, third point overall under the building effective corporate relationships topic, give respect and treat others fairly. And I know that sounds like duh, but everyone people don't do it. We don't give respect, and especially oftentimes as people tend to climb the corporate ladder, they start feeling like others are beneath them, and you don't have to treat people with respect. They have to give it to you though, but you don't have to give it to them. Or, I've gotten to this point, they just need to work hard and do what I did. Absolutely the wrong attitude to have, because leadership is about servanthood. And the higher you go, the more of a servant, the more humble you need to be. and serve your team and those who report to you, because it's by serving them and supporting them and giving them what they need is how they will in turn give you what you need, and they will go, figuratively speaking, of course, to the ends of the earth for you. If they're like, hey, you're staying late, do you need me to help with anything? They'll reach out and ask those type of questions. Oh, I finished up on this, but before I was going to head out, but if you need me for something, I can definitely stay. My team members will always offer to help. Obviously, as their managers or directors or whatever, I was making a certain level of income, which was above theirs, in some cases significantly above theirs, depending on their level within the team. So it didn't matter though, because they saw the person. They knew that I was a person who was there for them. I gave them respect. I supported them when needed. I would vouch for them. I didn't throw them under the bus. If they messed up, we messed up, because we're a team. So, and I spoke a lot and still do speak a lot in we versus you did this or I did this. We as a team did it, and it makes them feel included and it helps them to feel respected. And so when you need something, I oftentimes I didn't even have to ask. And if I did have to go ask for help with something, they were like, oh, yep, what do you need? Sure, I'll put down whatever else this is, I'm more than happy to help. And it was so it was humbling. It was, I don't know, I can't even describe the feeling that was, to have that, to consistently have people on my teams who were willing to be that person for me, just because they knew that I would show up for them. So making sure that you give respect and treat others fairly. Celebrate the wins. Celebrate when they do something great. Say thank you. I don't care if it is their job and something they're supposed to be doing. Say thank you, because they still didn't have to do it. Thank you for a job well done. I really appreciate you. It doesn't have to be, and it doesn't even have to be because they've done something for you. Just, hey, I see the work that you're doing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Being there for them, letting them know that you are a resource for them plays a big difference. And also asking for their feedback. And now this one may rub some people the wrong way, because why do I need their feedback? Because you still work together and you are not perfect and you do not know it all. And so I would ask my team about, if there was something that I was working on, I would say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Or does this look right? Or I was thinking about doing this, for our team. What are your thoughts? Or our CFO asked this and this was the answer I gave, but I want to make sure you all are comfortable with this as well. That played such a big part, because again, they felt seen, they felt included, they felt like their opinion mattered, and it did. But also it helped to keep for a happy working environment. Again, I didn't know it all. Just because I'm the leader of the team didn't mean that I had all the answers. They could come back and say, oh, okay, what if we did it this way? You know what? I like that even better. Let's go that route. There's no rule that says just because you're the so-called leader of the team that your answers are always the best answers. Your ideas are always the best ideas. No, welcome everyone's feedback and even criticism of you. Like if someone, I remember an employee came and told me, and I remember it because it really honestly hurt me when she said it, for me and for her. And because I remember she had told me earlier on in her time with the company how she loved how I would supported her, and she had never gotten that level of support from her manager. And I was like, well, thank you, but in my mind, I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to have been doing and what anybody should be doing in that role. And so I said, thank you. And, that was that. But towards the end of her time with the company, one of the things she said to me, and we still had a great working relationship, so there were no like hard feelings or anything before or after she said this. But she told me, if I had to one thing to say, because I did ask for her feedback, and she said it would be, don't let the company, now I can't think of how she said it, but something to the effect of not letting the company change who you are. And at that time, there was a lot going on within the company, and it wasn't really the best place for me, which I left shortly after that. She left, and I think I left maybe the next month. So I'd already started looking to leave as well, but it had become a really toxic environment to work in. And so while I thought I hid it from the team of how I felt about how things were going within the company, they could still see it. And she was one of those people who felt the impact of that decision. It didn't mean that I, mistreated her or anything like that, but there was just a difference in how I showed up. And I could appreciate her saying that. And so it made me more aware in my next role, which that next role was honestly my last role in corporate, where I realized it wasn't just that place. That place was toxic, but it was time for me to just leave corporate overall and start doing what I loved on my own time. But anyway, so it helped me in my next role to make sure that no matter what was happening in that corporate space, that I still made space for my team. I still left the door open for them, that I still showed up for them no matter what else was happening. And so again, be open to that feedback, because it's those little things. Had she not told me that, maybe I would have noticed it, maybe not, but it could have been a bad habit that I took somewhere else. And so it stayed in the back of my mind of, reminding me of how to show up, just period, in my professional space. So welcome that feedback. It's not meant to be disrespectful. If you're respectful to them, they will be respectful to you. They will, I don't know. I really don't have the words to describe how people showed up for me in the corporate space. Whether they reported to me or not, honestly, that's another thing. Whether they reported to me or not, just because of how I showed up for them, how I was willing to help, how I was willing to step in when needed, regardless of my role. At one company, I was in customer service for the billing department. And so this was long time ago. And so I worked in the billing department and customer service, so we answered phones. Well, I ended up getting a promotion to supervisor, which meant that I was no longer on the phones. That's what, my team did. And there were our team always had two supervisors. And so we had a queue, and our queue, we could see the calls, building up in the queue, or one person waiting, two people waiting, or no one waiting, whatever the case was. And it would also show how long the longest person has been waiting. And so you didn't want the queue to build up, because one, that meant that you would just have calls back to back to back to back, and nobody wanted that. But also, the longer they waited, the more disgruntled they would be when they got on the phone. And so when I would see the queue building up, like, oh, wait a minute, we're getting too many people in the queue. It wasn't about, hey, everybody, you need to move faster, and answer these calls, because you had some who did that. Nope. I would pick up a phone. I would go to dial into the queue from my desk phone, put on a headset, and start taking calls. And I remember the first time I did it, I saw people like, what is she doing? Yes, I'm taking calls, because there are customers in our queue that need help. Obviously, I know how to help them. I did what you all were doing, and I could do it really quickly, which is also part of the reason why I received that promotion. So they need help. I am going to help them. And I think that really helped to build the respect of my team, because at that time I was very young. I was in my early 20s, so there were quite a few people on the team who were older than me and kind of looked sideways when I even got the promotion to begin with. But it helped to build a level of respect for them. And another note that I just thought about that it helped with, and I'm going to hurry up because I don't want this to get too long, but at that particular company, they ended up outsourcing our roles to the Philippines. And we noticed where we were constantly having calls to where it got to the point where we were just sitting and not really doing anything. And even though the company hadn't told us, we learned from customers saying it, and just through the grapevine, that our calls were being outsourced to the Philippines. And so we knew it was only a moment of time before we would all be let go. And so what happened, they did ultimately let us go. They brought everyone in, the whole team in, as a group, and said it's everyone's last day, effective immediately, except Sharika. at the time, I had been in conversations with going through to the finance department, the accounting department. And they said, except you'll start in your new role with that accounting department on Monday, so you're free to go for the day. Which, number one, was really awkward. I felt really bad. I had built great friendships out of that, but it was a group of over 20 people and who had all just lost their jobs. And I had ultimately received a promotion or an increase in my pay. They allowed me to stay on, and they brought back, which I think is also how God showed up in this situation. They brought back the one supervisor that I had trained. So there was another supervisor that people were like, she was really good. She knew what she was doing, but for whatever reason, why is she getting it? She hadn't even been here that long. She's a suck up, all of these different things. Well, she knew the job and she knew it well. And I told her, and so our manager, somebody over us, gave her the role of supervisor. The other supervisor was like, well, she hadn't been here that long. She doesn't deserve it. She's just been smiling in his face, and I'm not going to train her. And I said, you know what? That's not my business. She's in the role. She needs to know, understand, and learn what to do. So I'm going to help her. I'll answer her questions. I'll train her. It's not that serious. Like, you're already a supervisor. Why are you treating her this way? And so I took deliberate steps to train her and show her how to do the job. She was the one person that they end up bringing back to lead the team over in the Philippines. And she actually was with the company for some years, even after I left, excelling in that role. And I have no doubt that the reason God allowed me to be sustained and to develop more and not be laid off with the rest of the team that day is because of how I treated her, how I treated another one of his children, and, didn't blame her for someone else giving her favor. So I have a couple of scriptures for this one, so the first one is Ephesians 4:29. Don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. So again, build people up, say thank you, encourage them to do great things. Even when you're providing feedback, and it may be negative feedback, there's always a way to say it without hurting others, without being demeaning. And so just try to aim for that. You can always give feedback. I wasn't that manager who never said anybody did anything wrong. Nope, they knew that I did. They knew that we had work to do. They knew that we had deadlines to meet. They knew that I needed a job and I needed it done well. But I showed up for them and gave them the support that they needed to do those things. And so again, you don't have to talk down to people. Use so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. Ephesians 4:29. And then the second scripture is 1 Thessalonians 5:11, which states, so encourage each other and build each other up just as you are already doing. If you're already doing it, great job. Keep doing it. If you're not, start tomorrow. Start today, actually. Just give a compliment. Say something nice. Don't act like the world is against you. Saying thank you goes a long way. And it's free. $3.99. You don't even have to pay for it. So again, those were I'll go back. So the 3 topics under building effective corporate relationships. Acknowledge what you do or don't know. Acknowledge your strengths, your weaknesses, and build on them both. Invest in social talk. Listen. Show an active interest in your peers and especially those within your team. And then lastly, make sure you're giving respect and treating others fairly. What is it? The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But also, I heard someone else say, treat people the way you want to be treated. I heard someone say it differently. Treat people the way they want to be treated, because the way you want to be treated may be different from how they want to be treated. So with all of those things, take a general interest, acknowledge the people that you work with, be a supporter, be a fan, and they will absolutely do the same for you. So again, this is Sharika, your professional growth partner, career advisor, career advancement mentor. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Please like, subscribe, comment. I would love to hear your feedback. And until the next time, bye.